Finding some of the best photo areas leads us to the Caribbean islands like Grand Cayman, south of Florida, Cuba, Cozumel, and Bonaire in the southern Caribbean. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is Moorea, an island just west of Tahiti. Further west, the intriguing atoll of Rangiroa is great for shark pictures. Also, the Fiji Islands are a great location for world-famous diving and photography. If you like water and like to swim, this could be for you. This is a very typical view when snorkeling, with the usual coral and sand bottom. Now we have a series of pictures to show. The deeper you go in the water when photographing, the bluer your picture will be, with the sun being your only light source. At this shallow 5-foot depth, there can be a lot of fish, and the sunlight will penetrate the water with enough light for color photos. This blue starfish in Fiji was at a depth of 8 feet. The sun is strong enough to render fine color. Soft coral close to the surface will look good. Notice the basic blue color of the water. It is going bluer the deeper we go down. At 20 feet in depth, red is absorbed by the water. Here are 2 swimmers swimming with stingrays. Again, the depth is only 2 to 10 feet, so the color and light are okay for good results. The depth here is about 5 feet, and the bright sun allows for fine exposure. The rays here are about 12 feet down, and notice how the water has started to absorb the red colors. The water clarity in 20 feet is extremely good when snorkeling on Grand Cayman Island. The island is made up of ironstone, which is hard and therefore very little plant growth and soil runoff into the water. So sediment under the water tend to be less. Here again you can enjoy the stingrays by snorkeling. If possible, aim the camera upwards for better pictures. At 15 or more feet of depth, you begin to need additional light to get the proper exposure and color. Add a strobe to your underwater camera system. You will get rid of the blue cast. Now you will start to get true color. The film we usually use is Ektachrome Daylight Type 100. Plus the strobe color is daylight also. Soft coral with proper light gives you beautiful pictures. Otherwise, it would be all very blue in color. Here's an example with no lighting. It is a pillar coral about 15 feet high. Now we turn on the strobe, light properly, and we have a nice photo with Shirley in the background. You can now see how important a strobe is underwater. You would not know the true shape and color of all the amazing creatures, like the delicate soft coral. As I'm taking this black coral picture, another diver takes this picture from above, and we amazingly, by luck, synchronize our flashes to get this image. The black coral in the foreground is used to make expensive jewelry. Now you realize why we scuba dive and take pictures. It's a world more colorful than you would ever realize. It really is spectacular. 35mm film, 100 ASA, is normally used. We like Ektachrome color, which can be processed overnight and viewed the next day. It gives nice blues. We have red, orange, yellow, and white soft coral, all in one photo. Most of the best pictures taken will be of subjects that appear about 3 feet from the camera lens. These underwater cameras do not have through-the-lens viewing, so you need to estimate the distance fairly accurately. Average setting is at 1/60th of a second with 100 ASA film. Here's a small coral head. While taking a setup, you can have schools of fish come by unexpectedly. You feel like you're in a fishbowl. Often, if one stops, sits, and waits, the fish will come back. They accept you if you don't make any jerky motion. This gray, hard coral is their home, so they really want to get back for protection and shelter. If you really like swimming and snorkeling, try Grand Cayman, 400 miles south of Florida. It is a British island. Drinking water is pure. The food ranges from Burger King and Kentucky Fried Chicken to wonderful continental dining. The island is safe and the people friendly. One of the most popular trips is a boat trip to Stingray City. Here, snorkelers can look down into the water 5 to 15 feet and see, feed, and play with the stingrays. Also, photography is fun and easy at this depth. Camera rentals are available at the scuba shops. The Stingray City dive is fairly shallow, and you can surface dive for live conch. The crew will prepare them for your shore lunch, and you can keep the shells. Now, with electronic strobe, we can record the true color and see the mouth of the ray. The ray has eyes on top of its body and the mouth and nostrils on the bottom. I'm holding food in my left hand and the camera with my right hand. I clicked right before it came over my hand, smelled it, took the piece of fish, and glided away. If you like the water and like to swim, you might enjoy this experience. You should not be too claustrophobic, as the water is all around you, and you are alone in this watery world. As for equipment, you will wear a foam rubber suit. Number 1, it protects your skin from getting bruised on sharp, hard coral like you see here. Number 2, it keeps your body warm. Your body temperature is 98.6 degrees, whereas the water temperature could be around 72 degrees. The water slowly wicks away your body temperature. After 30 to 45 minutes underwater, you might start to feel cool. You also wear a tank which holds 2,400 pounds of compressed air. Average person will stay down around 45 minutes, more or less. The dangling equipment here is a pressure gauge. It's one of the most important pieces of equipment, as it shows you how many pounds of air you have left to use. You always dive with another diver or buddy. The reason, of course, is if you needed help. For instance, if you are almost out of air, you can breathe off of their air tank. You just feel more secure with another body close, for it's a big world down there. The water clarity is normally quite good. In the Grand Cayman waters, you can have visibility of 100 feet or more. There are currents around some islands, which result in more fish coming in to eat or be eaten. More fish and other aquatic animals in the area makes for better picture possibilities.
We call this section of the show Critters. Here we have a selection of photos of our friends the fish and other creatures we like to photograph underwater. Here is a French angelfish, as usual swimming away from my camera. This is a grouper. They tend to be large and slow, but good photo subjects. Here is one of the beautiful sea fans, and lurking behind it, a 3-foot-long barracuda. Here is Al nosing a banded butterfly fish. To get this shot, he had to just sit there for me until the fish swam in and cooperated. This is a small spotted moray eel. This variety can grow to 4 feet, but this little fellow is only 2 feet or so. Al is zeroing in on a school of snappers or grunts. These blue tang are fun to follow around on a coral head. They go from place to place as a group and stop and feed together, making them easier to photograph. Al is holding a porcupine fish. Poor fish, he is frightened to death and has puffed himself up. These are also called pufferfish. This is a type of grouper called a rock hind. Here you see what can happen if you stir up the bottom by touching down with a fin or hand. The sand flies up and the particles catch the strobe light and destroy a good photo. So part of the skill is being able to hover just off the bottom and not stir up any sediment. This is a squirrelfish checking out my mask. The little fish over this coral are blue chromis. Al likes all types of blue fish. Whenever I lose track of him underwater, it usually is because he is chasing something blue. This little fellow is a crinoid, a relative of the starfish and brittle star. Most crinoids anchor themselves to hard coral and resemble flowers. This one was creeping around. A species of shrimp. This is a medium close-up. You can see the arms of an anemone below him. This is a close-up of another species of shrimp. You can just about see through their bodies. An anemone with a banded coral shrimp. I used extension tubes to get this extreme close-up. The actual picture area of this shot is about 1 inch wide, so he is a very tiny specimen. This type of shrimp will grow much bigger. These creatures are approximately 1 inch or so in diameter. They are so-called tube worms and extend their showy tentacles to feed. When they sense a prey or a diver, they quickly snap back into their tube. You have to sneak up on them to get a quick picture. If they sense your water movement or shadow approaching, they'll just disappear into their tube. Here's a beautiful purple-red anemone. This is a frogfish camouflaged under a pier. This was taken on a night dive in Bonaire. Another night shot of a sleeping fish. He's a small filefish or trunkfish. Notice the orange coral with its polyps open in the background. At night, the coral on the pier open up to feed, creating quite a magical sight on all the pilings. This, of course, is a tarpon. One of our favorite dive sites is Tarpon Alley in Grand Cayman. Schools of tarpon lurk around in caves and are not too afraid of the divers with cameras.
Another excellent location is Bonaire in the Netherlands Antilles, located approximately 75 miles off the north coast of South America. It is a favorite dive location because excellent diving is so close to the shore. These waters are famous for large tube sponges. These are very fragile and feel like styrofoam bobbing in the water. Here's a very large basket sponge. Years ago in these waters, there was a huge sponge like this. Divers could sit inside of it and have their picture taken. They killed it by kicking the edge out. Since then, divers are more conservation-minded, and the creed now is, don't touch anything, don't take anything. Bigger subjects need larger, more powerful electronic flashes. This strobe unit puts out 150 watt-seconds, which equates to a guide number of 50. Let's say the sponge was 10 feet from you and your camera. Dividing the 10 feet into the 50 guide number will give you a result of 5. That then is the f-stop you would use on your camera for getting the proper exposure on the film. Often I would use a 16mm motion picture camera housed in a waterproof case. On top of this unit I mounted one 100 watt spotlight which would function for about 15 minutes. As you can see, this is a lot of equipment to haul and push forward through the water. It is designed to be about 3 to 5 pounds positive underwater, which means if you let go of it, it slowly would rise to the surface. I wear a lead weight belt of 14 pounds. This is to keep my body more neutral in the water. The motion picture camera is powered by a spring and needs to be wound up after shooting 2 or 3 scenes. I was intrigued by this coral, which looks as if it was sitting on a bed of hot coals. Next, we will travel to the Pacific Ocean.
Rangiroa is an atoll about 2 hours by small plane from Tahiti. The atoll is about 30 miles across. Atolls are formed from the ancient tops of old volcanoes. As you see here, the outer ring is made up of many small islands, or what they call motu. Here we're on a beach on one of the motu, looking out to the atoll edge. Looking into the lagoon, the area inside the atoll, you see the beautiful blue water. This was our resort on Rangiroa. It was fairly primitive with only cold water and marginal plumbing, but that was made up for in scenery and good food. Here I'm snorkeling with the camera, on the move to catch this school of damselfish. I'll show you a little about the trials and tribulations of trying to get a good fish portrait. Here I have lined up a butterfly fish in a framer. For a 36 exposure roll of film, you're lucky to get one good shot. You have to line up fish properly, facing you with a smile on his face. The focus is set for an inch or so in front to an inch or so behind the plane of the framer. I keep snorkeling along, trying to get a fish inside the framer. Here I caught one, but slightly out of focus. Either he or I was moving. At least I got a school of them in the background. I shot fast, but he was moving too fast. Whoops, missed again. We'll try some bread. That usually draws a crowd. Here's Al enticing one with some more bread. There, all over. I should be able to get one, if they would just hold still. Uh-oh, another tail shot. Well, this is a little better. I tried for 2 at a time here. Finally, a headshot with others in the background and a little better focus. Another try at a butterfly. I have to wait till he swims into the frame. Otherwise, I'd scare him by pushing the framer toward him. And of course, most of them are not that curious to just swim up and pose in the framer. At least it's a headshot. Now we'll hop back to the Caribbean for one of our most exciting trips, to Cuba. Al?
Cuba was open to tourism for a short time years ago. We were able to take advantage of that and flew to Cuba aboard a DC-3 out of Tampa, Florida. Red Carpet was the name of the charter airline, and we flew south till we saw land. Then turned right and flew west till we arrived at the Havana airport. We were given royal treatment, and officials came out to our plane and picked us up in their tourist buses. To prove that we are in Havana, I took this picture of my diving buddy. Getting out of the bus, heading for our hotel, notice the political billboards in the background. At the world-famous Tropicana nightclub, we enjoyed a wonderful musical review in an immense outdoor tropical setting. But we came here to dive and do photography. This is typical congestion on the deck of the dive boat. Everybody is getting all of their gear ready. The Cubans did an excellent job in plotting the various sites for diving and photography. Every 2 divers were assigned a safety diver underwater. Here our guide shows us a langosta. The fish were plentiful, and what a thrill to swim through schools of this size. The Cuban Air Force sank large old ships in the water to be used for target practice. They also provide a fabulous home for many species of fish life. Our safety diver shows us a poisonous snake. Great. It was an excellent location. I decided to get out the motion picture camera. The average depth we were at was about 35 feet. Barracuda are territorial. This means they guard their area, which is their home. Barracuda are not that vicious. They have a natural mean look, which they are born with. But one 4 foot long can be scary, coming alongside of you or straight at you. Picture possibilities are endless. Rule of thumb, shoot pictures in a horizontal plane, keep the background simple. Never shoot straight down. Rather, shoot up, and you get a nice bright blue sky for a background. Here we used extension tubes behind our lenses to allow for bigger magnification of these small fish. When ascending back up to our boat, one has to come up very slowly. The rule is, don't come up any faster than your bubbles rise. When doing a deep dive to 100 feet, it is necessary to decompress at 20 feet below the surface for a minute or so, and also at 10 feet for a minute. This allows any nitrogen in your blood to be released slowly through the lungs so as not to get the bends. It seems they found a lot of large spiny lobsters for our dinner. Shirley helps display these with our dive director. We normally would eat breakfast on board while going out to the dive site. It could take 45 to 60 minutes to travel to the day's site. Fiji has some of the best diving in the Pacific. Fiji is made up of many island groups scattered over a large area. This is the island of Gamea, and a typical dive resort with cabins or bures for the guests to sleep in. Here is the shoreline and boathouse. Just 1/2 mile to the right is excellent diving and fish life. And absolutely the most colorful soft coral in the world. Pink, orange, red, white, it's endless. Intriguing clownfish are abundant here. They live in relationship with these large anemones. This large yellow blanket is the anemone. Any creatures swimming close or touching its arms will be paralyzed instantly with its poison. It then works the stunned fish to the center of its mouth. The clownfish are immune to its sting and use the anemone for protection. So we try for more pictures of these photogenic fish. What could be more exciting and beautiful than these clowns and red coral, all in one photograph? Many times you really think you're in a fish bowl with the baby orange rockcods or other fish. For excitement today, we're going to see large ocean-going shark being fed at a depth of 100 feet. Here there is a cave on a wall where we can stand inside for easier filming and protection. Shirley Motions, did you see that one? Yes, this is the first black-tip shark we saw. The smaller fish are waiting for the feeding or crumbs to come. Big ones coming up from the bottom. We all are getting excited and get our cameras ready. A still camera on the left and video housing on the right, ready for action. There are more. Somehow this diver separated from the rest of us. He's signaling the shark. Hold it, that's close enough. The sharks stay in a group for feeding. We stay in a group for safety. Shark are getting bigger and coming in close. Lens on my camera is a wide-angle 28mm, which means they are closer than they look. Here is our French dive master cutting chunks of food with his knife. This is a colorful fish world and getting more exciting. These sharks are about 10 feet away, made with a 28mm lens again. That's close enough for us. With the sharks passing through, we check for other sights. Here's the world-famous Great White Wall, a wall covered with white and pink soft coral as far as you can see in all directions. In order to get to this location, we had to swim down inside a tunnel and come out of the wall at 100 feet. You look around and are amazed at the size of this growth. Finally, time to go back up to the boat. End of another amazing day, diving, discovering, and photographing. Everything doesn't have to be big to be inspiring. Here we will leave you with a series of beautiful close-ups of our underwater world.